Okay.
What's up,
Hi, everyone.
Miha?
And, hi, Liz. So
Hello.
it's so great to be, talking to you today again after, several years that, we've been kind of like, like crossing paths in
That
the
is true.
Yeah, so I would love to do a short introduction on Liz for the start and then just ask her to explain a little bit more on how her journey has evolved. But, what I admire about Liz's journey is that she started as a journalist first.
Yes, very unusual.
And then became an entrepreneur, which, always I would say is like the best way to learn business, the hard way.
Yes.
And then you moved on to Estée Lauder to do innovation, which is always interesting, like a massive company. And so,
Yes.
lots of different things to do. And now, most recently, Under Armour, which is obviously an amazing, iconic brand that is trying to figure out, like, how to, again, like, get its momentum. And so you're leading AI as a global head of AI, trying to basically like use the new tech to change the business. So,
Oh, for sure.
I would love to hear from your perspective a little bit, like, first maybe just on the journey, how, all
Yep.
these steps kind of make sense. And then we can dive into, what you're working on.
I appreciate the question. And if there is anyone in the audience, if your career path was a little untraditional and you started here and then you went over there and you went over there, I think about up to 4 years ago, it felt a little strange to follow that kind of path. Recruiters do not know what to do with you. Executives do not know how to quantify you or measure your success. And now you see the heads of Anthropic speaking very loudly on how these untraditional paths, executives, they are in technology with a background in humanities is exactly what they want. So I'm loving this era that we are now, that you need to be, you have to have a generalist mindset, being able to understand many different functions and modalities and connect with people across the organization instead of being so obsessed with just your own domain. And accidentally, that's what my career did. Since a little girl, I've always wanted to decode things. It's a word that I love. I'm on Instagram, Liz Decoded, and that was the company that I built and sold to Hearst Media Group. It was decoded because it was about taking very complex concepts like technology in the early 2010s and breaking them down to the C-suite in fashion and luxury. And now in AI, I'm catching myself doing that all over again. In my 10 years of news, I did that with everything that happened in that time that was landed on me, whether I was on the Today Show or Nightly News. I remember the financial meltdown. Finance was not my strong suit at that time. My executive producer said, "You're in charge of the financial coverage." I'm like, oh, shoot. And you have 5 minutes to figure it out. So that ability, pre-AI, to go get take complex information, dive yourself into it, no excuses, master it, and find a way to explain to an audience is actually the essence that has been carrying through across everything that I've ever done. So when I switched from media to tech was because we were in an industry, it's going to create parallels right now, that was resisting change. The rise of digital happened, and I remember the leaders saying out loud, no one will consume media in a small screen. No one will consume low-quality video if we have a high-quality video. And that resistance and mindset created what the destruction of media as leaders of the story. And from the inside, it was very painful to watch that. And it felt by 2009 that I was on the Titanic. And some of the CEOs in technology that I have interviewed, they were the ones who suggested, instead of being this technologist, journalist, why don't you become a technologist that knows how to tell stories? So I switched to the world of tech. And for 10 years that followed, I dove into your world and connected to some of the top tech CEOs in the world and decoded what they were saying and created ways to get what they selling, the value they wanted to unlock. Interesting to the CEOs. After I sold the company, then it was about how do you do that inside a company? So I had this opportunity to serve my CIO at Estée Lauder companies and create a tech innovation division that they didn't have. Because in the world of the beauty, when you say innovation, it means product innovation, right? New products, new claims that we could make, but not new ways, new processes, new ways to operate. And he wanted to test the boundaries of that, and we achieved something amazing, something that was very special at Estée Lauder that I don't really see. The innovation division, all the technology, like if we were to do a partnership with you, all of that was under the CFO. So you have to really think about the impact and the measurable impact right away. And that gave me a sense of discipline that I didn't have before. I was more on the clicks kind of mindset. Oh, engagement, it was cool, we did it. But then I became about value delivered. And now Under Armour is a company that has less resources than an Estée Lauder. It's smaller. It's still large, but smaller. You have to be very intentional with the things that you do because value delivered impact is, you have to aim for it, right? And that's where I am today. So I'm there. Once again, I stood up the practice, the AI practice from nothing. And really creating this mindset about how do we unlock value delivered in a way that you try to, as much as you can, to predict, to have an aim from the beginning and reduce the failure rate that's supposed to be so high in the world of AI.
Okay, so the first question I wanted to ask you is when you enter a company of that size and you're tasked to basically use AI to change how you guys actually operate. So it's not just marketing, it's pretty much everything. Any opportunity. So how did you start to think about the opportunities? And this is probably something that all of us are doing across, different types of companies. But how did you come up with a framework on, what is that you can do with AI that, will create the biggest lever for Under Armour?
Something that I'm loving about Cannes 2026, you guys, is that when I meet someone in cocktail parties and networking who does not work in technology and I say that I'm head of AI, this year, you're no longer asking me, oh, where do you use AI? Thank you, because you should not be asking that. AI could be used everywhere. Last year in Cannes, I would say AI like, oh, how can you use AI? Where do you use AI, right? So when you enter an organization, and many organizations right now in 2026 still don't have the strategy to create the AI division. It's okay, but at least the awareness, it's bubbling up to the leadership. It's really about looking at processes. It's having an AI team means taking a moment to rethink how everything is done. And everything means everything. Then divide up the organization in whatever number of departments you want to divide it, and look at each one of those departments and see how information flows, how processes flow. A fun exercise that I love is going to a department and do a complaint session, like a 2-hour-long complaint session. Tell me everything you guys don't like, everything that takes too long, all the frustration. And quickly that, because they know it more than anyone, quickly that becomes strategy, right? When you cross the complaints with the objectives, the business goals for that fiscal, you start seeing prioritization arriving. And then you know what AI needs to be done in the order that needs to be done, instead of thinking about the tech that's out there available and being so excited about the tech. You take that strategy and then you take the AI technologies and partners and enable that strategy and then get people really excited. And it gets really excited if you don't tell them, hey, I have this new tech, here, use it. If you go, hey, tell me about your process. What do you wish could be better? And what do you think about this, and that? And then you build that together. And then what you're creating is this AI department, or this heading of AI becomes more of a sharing of AI. And then each place that you go, that you implement something, and you implement with enablement. The trick is that a lot of companies are not putting as much intent on enablement as they are on just onboarding the tech. So bringing the technology to a company is not enough. You have to keep the hand holding for longer and getting people to really form this new habit of this new process. And then they become heads of their AI, and any digital transformation, real digital transformation starts happening.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But since we're here in Cannes, mostly talking about creativity and marketing,
yes.
I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into something that's more concrete. Just and perhaps that's just kind of your sure. Perspective, not necessarily the Under Armour's perspective. But when you think about creativity, and first of all, like, how do you see AI enabling creativity Is it something that you think is going to be basically, creating, the next wave of big ideas that are still human-led, but somehow amplified with, more technology, maybe better insights, maybe better understanding of, what works, and or do you see basically that we're moving more towards something that's going to be a system, machine, perhaps more performance marketing, just something that really kind of can directly impact the sales? So how do you think, from your vantage point, about this, let's say, high-level brand ideas, long-term impact versus kind of immediate, data-driven impact on the conversions?
It's tricky. You have right now 3 tectonic plates that you need to watch. You have the consumers, they're changing. We say this every year, but they are freaking changing like a lot right now. Then you have your workforce, right? The way we behave, the way we work is changing. And then we have the platforms are changing. So these 3 plates are moving in different speeds, and you have to strategize across all of that. So when you think about the consumer, most of us are serving 3 kinds of consumers at the same time. You have let's say 4, because I count 2. You have me, the Zennials, you have the Millennials, you have the Gen Z, and you have Alpha. And something that you see with younger Gen Z and Alpha, they know exactly what AI content is, and they react negatively most of the time, not all the time. So you have that data point. The second data point is your creative teams. They are hungry for tools. They want to test everything. Most creative teams are overstretched. They have to do a lot with very little. And the budgets are becoming smaller and smaller. And this is now a renaissance of capability for them. They see these tools, they want to use it all and do all these things that they couldn't do before. So this can lead for a brand to do amazing things, or this could lead to a brand to lose itself by doing stupid things, right? So you have to rein that in a way that doesn't hold the team back, but creates some kind of algorithm to that chaos, right? And it's not a technology conversation, my point of view. The technology executive, like in my case, you are enabler of the brand conversation, of asking, what is this brand about? And you can send them some scenarios. I think about, if you think of Under Armour, I even think about Dove. What kinds of brands are really around the authentic, right? We say the word authenticity a lot, but some brands, they sell authentic. So if you sell authentic, you have to be careful, because you have to put a limit to how much you use AI. You can use AI to the edge, to the authentic. So when you think about what is that edge, post-production, right? So you have the human, that's a real human, a real influencer person, and then you produce around it. You can send someone real to space, and fireworks can happen behind it. That can be AI, but the essence of the message, if your brand is authentic, you have to be careful. And that's what we're starting to see. Some brands there sell the authentic, misusing the AI. And then the platforms are changing all the time. You mentioned about sales. When you think about Google has done the past couple months, it disrupted everything. If you think about AI mode, if you think about AI synopsis, when you search now, when you interact with search, you have to, how do you jump into that? It's not just the data the way we used to, it's context. And most brands are not ready to feed context to LLMs. They don't have their product information ready. They don't have a very comprehensive Reddit approach to really feed information to those platforms. This is the time to really address all of that. And another thing that's very interesting around context is the alphas, right? The youngest consumers, they are very conversational. And I've been waiting for a while. I've been waiting for the past 6 years for the death of the drop-down menu. And I think we're getting closer and closer. I'm just so excited the day that I don't see a drop-down anymore. If it was up to me, it would be killed today. It's not the best way to discover anything anyway. To be able to have a conversational interface, it's going to be non-negotiable, because the younger consumer doesn't want to do it. And one last thing that I noticed that's happened that's quite recent, about a couple weeks ago, I'm seeing the youngest consumer, and that's a challenge for Google, going back against this feeling of powerlessness. If AI is removing choice from me, if I cannot even see the amount of pages, if you're just summarizing in some mysterious ways that might be ad based, maybe I should search some other ways. So something that I don't know them. This is not any kind of placement, but look it up. A lot of young consumers are going back to Firefox, Mozilla. Yes, they are downloading new browsers to search things in their own terms and bypass this AI algorithm that's hitting them. So
you're saying that the young alpha consumers actually are responding negatively to AI-generated content in advertising? And
it's not that it's not that, oh, we don't want to consume it. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But there is a reaction and there is an awareness. They tend to catch it before everybody else.
So how are you guys thinking about then what is the solution to that? Like, is it just more authentic content, or like, are you leaning into creators more, or what is the direction that you think it's most interesting for a brand like yours, or perhaps anyone else in this space? Yeah.
So that's what I was saying. There is a difference between the message being AI and AI being a tool for the message. That's what I think is the limit, right? So if you think of campaigns that it's done by our brands and other brands doing it right, you see AI unleashing the fantastical, you see AI with some special cool effects, or a scene that's very expensive to shoot. So you could do it this way. You can change a background, you can create a rainbow, but the actual core of the message, the outlook, the person that's telling the story, not being synthetic. So some brands will not be able to go to the synthetic. They will pay a cost if they go there, right? And if they go, there's a reason to why go there, right? And that is a calculation that each brand, not the tech department, but the chief brand officer, the creative team, needs to have that conversation with the tech team to create a foundation on what is the rules for our brand at this moment. And these rules are going to be tested as this technology keeps developing, but it needs to be guided by the brand direction, not the other way around. We shouldn't do everything because we can.
So what is changing on the measurement? I know you spend a lot of time in the AI analytics as well. So from a brand perspective, so how should we rethink what gets measured, or maybe new capabilities with AI that we have are completely changing the game there on the inside? So what's your kind of prediction around that?
I'm going to try to hit it from a few different directions. A direction that could be good news for you. I think right now, in this moment, I think everybody should stop messing around with the pilots. I said the pilots, bullshit. Here's why I say that. It's because often when companies engage with pilots, they misusing the word pilot. Their intent is a POC. Right? They say pilot because he uses actual data and actual deployment, but their intent is a POC intent. It's just to check it out, to try it out, and then thinking it through. I think the thinking it through needs to happen first. If we were to do a partnership together, we need to take a moment to plot the success right now and invest in that vision that it could succeed, and what that success will look like, and what's the time frame to prove it, and then what's the quick action that follows it for you to achieve that result. So that speed in thinking allows you to really follow the times that we are right now. Right now, the speed, the window of time to value has shortened. And people have to change the way they work to really abide by that. A second change that I'm seeing is once you deploy something, how do you visualize the results? And one thing that many organizations have is death by dashboards and Tableau visualizations. And most executives, they don't want to see another graph. They want to know the knowledge. So once again, remember that I said that I want the drop-down menu to be dead? Well, what if I tell you, just talk to the results? right? So to be able to talk to your insights, most CEOs just want to talk to the insights. Create a secure portal for them to just ask about sales, about campaigns. Forget CEOs, C-suite in general, right? And to be able to take that data and turn that data into a conversation. We have the ability to do that today, but many people are not even starting to do that.
So would you say that you are now using more data in your everyday on the marketing side, or less data just because you can, conversationally pull out some things, or maybe rephrase the question, it's not as rigid? Are you relying more on that? And, as a result, you are seeing basically faster decision-making in your organization, or something else? Like, what is then the impact of the ability to talk to data?
Yeah.
That's kind of like what we should be doing.
For sure, and there's so much data. When you think of data in the organization, there's so much information for you to tap into, and AI could be a conduit for all of that, but focus on what matters, right? So if you go to each executive and say, what is the most important data point for you to know that drives success of your goals for this quarter, right? Then create ease around that data point. That's how I think you unleash huge progress really fast. Instead of creating an all-comprehensive strategy, unleash by prioritization. Because right now, executives are struggling to process all the information that they want and turn that insight to action. So can you give them the 2-3 most important insights in the most digestible possible way so they can act as fast as possible?
So the final question. So as you're looking through the landscape today, what companies do you think are like doing the most interesting, job when it gets to using AI? Like, it doesn't need to be your category, but any category, even here in Cannes. What are you excited about, or you want to learn more, or like, maybe kind of like, just kind of aspire to maybe like try to replicate the company you are. So what is the most interesting stuff that you receive?
I didn't expect that question, so I'm going to try to wing this answer here. Let me see. I'm going to be very honest. If you go to all the major presentations, the top analysts in the space, if you go to Goldman's presentation, you're going to see Gartner. Retail is at the bottom. Breaking news, we are at the bottom of AI adoption. We are really behind. There's a lot of resistance. I remember in 2012, when I was here, I talked to a CEO here that told me, who's going to buy something on the phone, right? And that resistance is happening again right now with AI at the top. And that's holding the whole industry back. So I'm not going to give you a retail answer. The ones that are inspiring me in retail are the ones who are really approaching this as a transformation, taking their time. This is not first to market. This is something that's going to drag for a long time. It's very serious. And it's not some consultant that's going to get this done for you. You have to invest in having the know-how inside the organization and start experimenting inside and creating education at the executive level. If you're an executive leader that thinks that your secretary can learn AI for you, that I've seen it. This is not how you should be approaching this right now. But where is exciting me a lot is actually health. I take a lot of inspiration from health. I am blown away by some of the top health companies in the US. They have adopted AI in over 80% of the readings of exams, for instance. Like when you take an MRI or a CAT scan, that reading, it's largely done by a combination of AI and human. And the accuracy that was in the low 70s now is in the high 90s. It's been incredible. For them to achieve that, they had to do major digital transformation work, change the way the teams work. Of course, the leaders in the space, it's not even health. The ones that go even further is finance. In the world of finance, what you're going to see them creating their own data modes and creating their own models. They have to create, retailers do not need their own LLMs, no need for that. But in finance, you do, because of regulatory reasons. You cannot take Claude's, Anthropic's word or OpenAI's word that they're not going to train on your data. You need to ensure that they're not going to train on your data by your data not going anywhere. So a lot of the finance big players have their own LLMs, and they have very comprehensive teams in creating their own solutions and their own automations. And last thing that I would add, I admire anyone in the room that are thinking about the word orchestration. Last year when I went to Cannes and I said orchestration, nobody knew what I was talking about. And it's when you hear about the word agentic, what agentic means, yes, you create this thing that does one action, you create another agent that does another action. But this is meaningless because what you actually need is a DJ platform in which all of these things talk to each other. And this needs to be with you. You need to actually have someone in the team that understands what that means, because this means you can work with several tech companies at the same time, do experimentation with many players, and own that DJing of the process and decide when you're going to have your Salesforce connecting to another platform, to a pure play thing that you created yourself. So the orchestration is the moment of education that everyone should be thinking right now.
Wonderful. That's a great way to finish.
Thank you, Miha.
Thank you
so nice
much
to see you again.
You as well. Thank you.